Jaya Jaya Sri Guru Prema Kalapataru Adabhuta Jako Paraka Adabhuta Jako Paraka Ya Agyanati Mira Baragyan Ya Agyanati Mira Baragyan Suchandra Kirane Karuna Suchandra Kirane Karuna Jaya Jaya Sri Guru Prema Kala Pataru Adabhuta Jako Parakash Adabhuta Jako Parakash Iha Lochana Nandadham Iha Lochana Nandadham Ajachita Moheno Patita Heri Jopon Jachi Devalo Harina Jachi Devalo Harina Aduramati Agati Satataya Satamati Nahiko Sukriti Labale Shri Vrindavana Jugala Bhajana Dhana Mohe Karalo Upadesh Mohe Karalo Upadesh Jaya Jaya Sri Guru Prema Kalapataru Adabhuta Jako Parakash Adabhuta Jako Parakash Niramala Gaura Prema Rasa Sinchane Niramala Gaura Prema Rasa Sinchane Purala Sabha Moniraya So Charanam Buje Rati Nahi Ho Alo Rata Vaishnavada Rovato Vaishnavadas. Jaya Jaya Sri Guru Prema Kalapataro Adabhuta Jako Parakas Adabhuta Jako Parakas Adabhuta Jako Parakas. Jai Jai Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. Jai Jai Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jai Jai Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. Jai Jai Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. Jai Jai Jasodanandana Sachi Sutta Gaurachandra. Jai Jai Rohini Nandana Balarama Nityananda. Jai Jai Mahavishnu Avatar Shri Advaita Chandra. Jai Jai Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Khanda Vasi Narahari Murari Mukunda. Jai Jai Aswarupa Rupa Sanatana Rai Ramananda. Jai Jai Uriya Gauriya Jata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Haiya Chen Haben Jata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Tomra Sabai Mili Daya Koro Ami Ati Mandan Jeno Akula Prani Gaite Pari Anitai Gauranga Gaijeno Anitai Gauranga Gaijeno Anitai Gauranga Gaijeno Anitai Gauranga Janme Janme Anitai Gauranga Akul Prane Anitai Gauranga. Jai Jai Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. Jai Jai Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Jai Jai Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. Jai Jai Nityananda Dvaita Gauranga. नाम श्रेष्ठं मनुमपि शची पुत्रमत्र स्वरूपम् रूपं तस्याग्रजम् उरुपुरीं माथुरीं गोष्ठवाटीम् राधा कुंडम गिरिवरम अहो राधिका माधवा प्राप्तो यस्य प्रसित कृपया श्री गुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि निन्दन्तं पुलकोत्करेण विकसत् निपप्रसून छविं प्रोद्वीकृत्य भुजद्वयं हरिहरीत्युच्चैर्वदन्तं मुहुः नृत्यन्तं गलदश्रुनिर्झरचयैः सिञ्चन्तमुर्वीतलम् गायन्तं निजपार्षदैः परिवृतं तं गौरम् एव स्तुमः यस्य ब्रह्मेति संज्ञां क्वचिदपि निगमे याति चिन्मात्रसत्ता यंशो यस्यांशकैस्वै विभवति वशयन् एव मायां पुमांश्च एकं यस्यैव रूपं विलसति परमव्योम्नि नारायणाख्यं स श्रीकृष्णो विधत्तां स्वयमिह भगवान् प्रेम तद्भादभाजाम् स श्रीकृष्णो विधत्तां स्वयमिह भगवान् प्रेम तत्पादभाजाम् गौरश्यामरुचो जलाभिरमलै अक्ष्णो विलासोत्सवै नृत्यन्ति विरशेषमादनकला वैदग्ध्यदेहात्मभिः अन्योन्यप्रियता सुधा परिमला स्तोमोन्मदाभिः सदा राधा माधव माधुरी विरवितश्चित्तं ममाक्राम्यताम् राधा माधव माधुरी विरवितश्चित्तं ममाक्राम्यताम् गुरु शास्त्रं श्रद्धा रुचिर अनुगतिर सिद्धिर इति मे यदेतत् तत् सर्वं चरणकमलं राजति ययो कृपामाध्वीकेन स्नपितनयनां भोजयुगलौ सदा राधा कृष्णौ अशरणगतितो मम गतिः आलिभिः परिपालितः प्रबलितः सानन्दमालोकितः प्रत्याशं सुफलं मनो सुमनः falo daya vidhau samodama moditaha vrindaranya bhuvi prakasha madhura sarvati shai sriya Radha Madhavayo Pramodayatu Mam Ulalasa Kalpadrumaha Radha Madhavayo Pramodayatu Mam Ullasa Kalpadrumaha Jayati Jayati Nama Nandarupam Murare Viramita Nija Dharma Dhyana Puja Diyatnam Ekatamapi Sakridat Tanga Muktidang Praninang Yat Paramamamritamekam 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 Jivanam Bhushanam Me Paramamamritamekam Jivanam Bhushanam Me Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so here we go. And where are we here? Whoops. Anucheda 21, isn't it? Is it 21? All right, we did, I think, 21. We'll get it started anyway. Okay, well, here we are. So what we're doing still here, we're disdaining, we are diminishing, we are trivializing, we are rejecting mukti. So this is the interesting part of this discussion, is that priti and mukti are identified as one thing. So sometimes mukti is defined as priti. But when mukti is sayujya, or when mukti is diyamanam nagrihnanti vinamat sevanang janah, right? Salokya, sarsti, samipya, sarupya, aikatvam ityuta, diyamanam nagrihnanti vinamat sevanang janah. So this is not, they're not wanted without service. So the service is the main thing. So the effects of priti diminish mukti. So when you feel, when you engage in service, so the first one here, right? The first example that was given. Oh, well, oh yeah, sorry, I'm forgetting where we're in it. Forgive me. I do the Sanskrit class right before we start here. So sometimes I forget where I am. So this was the verse, we looked at this verse yesterday. So let's look at it one more time in the interest. So yes, we've done it twice at least, but nevertheless, one more time, let's go. Nakinchit sadhavo dhira bhakta hekantino mama Vanchantyapi maya dattam kaivalyam apunarbhavam nenaikatmatang me sprihayanti kechit matpada seva bhirata madiha yenyo nyato bhagavata prashasya sabha jayante mama paurushani. So I don't know this first one here. This is actually this is the same verse here. This doesn't belong here. It's got nothing to do with this. So that's not part of the same thing at all. All right, so naika atmatame sprihayanti kechit matpada seva bhirata madiha yenyo nyato bhagavata prasaja sabha jayante mama paurushani. Some devotees who are devoted to the service of my feet, whose activities are dedicated to me, and who gather together to glorify my prowess, do not aspire for identity with me. The ekatmatam brahma sayujjam bhagavata sayujjam api. So this ekatvam here, this ekatmatam, one soulness, one selfness, it can mean either Brahma Sayuja, to become one with Brahma, or Bhagavat Sayuja. We talked about that already, we've seen. So, evam seva dwara mukti visheshanam cha Sri Vishnu Vakyena mat sevaya pratitang te ityadina Sri Kapila Deva Vakyena salokya sarshti ityadina. And that's that. Okay. So the first one, Matsevaya pratitam te salokyadi chatushtayam nechanti sevaya purnaha kutonyat kala viplutam. So te, Matsevaya, te, subject, te, the devotees, sevaya purnaha, are complete through the service, from the service itself. So the salokyadi chatushtayam that are matsevaya pratitam, right? So the different kinds of liberation come as a secondary result of service. One who is engaged in Krishna's service, in the service of Bhagavan, is already liberated. If you're absorbed, if your mind is fully fixed on service to Krishna, then you're in a liberated state. There's no question about it. So he says here that the gifts of the spirit, right? The gifts of that come as a result of serving God, the benefits that come as a result of serving God, the devotee doesn't cast a glance at them because his focus, his samadhi, is in the service itself. So what to speak of if liberation itself is of no interest, if these four kinds of liberation, so he doesn't mention, when he says four kinds of liberation, he means he's leaving out sayuja. So, but they don't want it if for the service is the primary thing. How the service is executed, in what circumstances, all those things are secondary. He'll go to hell if he can serve, just like the Kumaras after the whole debacle with Jay and Vijay. And after, in a way, they'd been a little bit humiliated by the behavior of Bhagavan, in the sense that Bhagavan had been so humble and so, let's say, favorable to his own doorkeepers, Jaya and Vijay, that the Kumaras understood a little bit better the situation, and they regretted their action of cursing Jaya and Vijaya. But they said that they were ready to go to hell as a result of this misdeed of offending a devotee of the Lord, as long as Krishna would grant them the ability to chant and to remember his names and his pastimes. So the word identity, ekatmatam, refers to both union with Brahman or with Bhagavan. Similarly, Sri Vishnu says that other specific muktis are trivial. This is English language. Fault. It's excessively wordy. Are trivial when compared to the service of Bhagavan. So being fulfilled by their service to me, my devotees do not desire the four types of liberation beginning with Salokya, which are available to them because of this service. Then where is the possibility of their desiring anything that will be devoured by time? Or viplutam, devoured, maybe washed away by time is more probably better. I suggest that. Let's see what we get. And also in a statement of Kapila Dev, so this is the very one that I already chanted, Salokya Sarsti Samipya Sarupya Ikatvam Ityuta Diyamanam na Grihnanti Vinamat Sevanang Janaha. So even if I want to give it to them, my devotee, my devotees do not accept liberation in the form of Salokya, Sarsti, Sarupya, Samipya, and Sayuja if it cannot be utilized in my service. Okay. So let's so just to finish this up here. Ata, this is all we've done this already, so we're just continuing on. I don't know what I thought that I'm pretty sure we didn't do this. All right. At any rate here, so Ata Purushartantaravat Muktirapi Heya Eva iti bhaktum tairapi sadhyam tasya satiraskritir nirdishyate. So this is together, that mukti is to be attained through the things that are all, other things that are also to be rejected. So like the other human pursuits, mukti is also to be rejected. To state this, disdain for mukti is indicated even where it is instructed along with other human pursuits. Out of these, the inferiority of mukti in a general sense to bhakti in its essential nature was shown in the Priti Sandarbha by statements such as, Nakinchit sadhavo dhira bhakta he kantino mama vanchantyapi maya dattam kaivalyam apunar bhavam. Yes, so that was the verse that we saw already. So the wise and saintly devotees, fully devoted to me, desire nothing, not even the liberation that grants freedom from rebirth, even if I should offer it to them. And naive chantya shishakwapi brahmarshir mokshamapyuta bhakting param bhagavati alabdhavan purushe vyaye. And Shiva said, this Brahmana sage never wishes for any blessings at any time, not even liberation, for he has attained supreme devotion to Bhagavan, the imperishable Supreme Person. Ata karya dvareshu, so now we're going to a slightly different subject. So karya dvareshu, so ata karya dvareshu tatra patitam mahasukha dukkantara tiraskarati dasakti dvara tam aha. So ata karya dvareshu tatra patita mahasukha dukkantara tiraskarita tiraskari tad asakti dvara tam aha. So this is the tam here refers to this disdain for mukti. So what is that? The inferiority of mukti to priti is being demonstrated through the attachment to Bhagavan as an effect of priti. This attachment disregards all great distress and great pleasures which may befall a devotee. Right? So tatra patita maha sukha dukkantara tiraskari tadasakti dwara tam. So the tam here is the rejection or disdain of the inferiority of mukti to priti is being shown how dwara by the asakti, the attachment that comes to Krishna, which shows the inferiority or the disdain. We go on here of all happiness and distress that might befall one, that might befall the devotee. So the example of that here from the 6th canto, Shiva, Narayana Parah Sarve. So this is also a very well-known verse. Narayana Parah Sarve Nakutaschana Bibhyati Swarga Pavarga Narake Shwapi Tulyartha Darshinaha. So Narayana Paraha, those who are devoted to Narayana, Sarve, all of them, Nakutaschana Bibhyati, do not fear anything. Swarga Bhavarga Narake Shwapi Tulyartha Darshinaha, because they see as that in heaven, hell, and liberation, to them all have the same value. They see them all as having equal value. Tulya Artha Darshinaha. Shiva said, all those who are devoted to Narayana fear nothing, for they consider heaven, liberation, and even hell as being equal in value. Swargadinam tulya heyatvat, teshu tulya bhagavad eka purusharthatvat cha tulya darshinaha. So the point here is that liberation, so heaven, hell, and liberation, tulya heyatvat. So tulya means equal, right? Heyatvat, rejectable. So because they are equally rejectable, teshu tulya bhagavadeka purusharthatvat cha tulya darshina. So they're all equally rejectable to the devotees of Narayan, because in all these situations, Bhagavan would still remain their only goal of life. Therefore, they have equal vision towards them all. Tulya Bhagavad Eka Purushartha Twachcha. Okay, that's very good. So I didn't see that clearly right away, but look. So Swargadinam Tulya Heyatvat. And how is that? Teshu. So there's two reasons there. One reason is that because why do they fear nothing? Why do they see them equally? Because of Swarga, etc., they're equally rejectable. Heya. There's a big thing about Heya. what is rejectable, what is to be rejected. So Swarga, Apavarga, and Naraka, they're all to be rejected. They're all the same. So normally we think that there's a difference between hell and heaven and liberation. But for a devotee, they're all equal. And why is that? Because in all those situations, teshu, tulya bhagavad eka purushartha twat, the purushartha, the goal of that devotee will still be Bhagavan. So that's why they see them as being equal. Srila Jiva Goswami continues. So let's give Babaji Maharaj, let's give a pranam to Babaji Maharaj for his commentary here. Jai Sri Radhe. Sri Jiva Goswami continues to give more references about Priti being superior to Mukti. Now on the basis of the effects of Priti in the form of service. In the form of, well, here in this particular case, right, wasn't even service here, it was attachment. He was talking about attachment here, that attachment itself. First, he refers to a statement of Kapila in which he speaks of service to Bhagavan, making the devotee reject a Sayujya Mukti. As was said earlier, Sayujya is of two types, Brahma Sayujya and Bhagavat Sayujya. A devotee spurns both because of absorption in service and in relating the stories of Bhagavan. It is not only Sayujya Mukti, but all types of Mukti that are rejected by devotees. This was stated by both Vishnu to Durvasa and Kapila to his mother. Besides Mukti, a devotee has no hankering for any of the other three Purusharthas, namely Dharma, Artha, and Kama. This has been stated in Priti Sandarbha in different places. Even if a devotee has to face severe suffering while executing bhakti, they will never abandon it. Prahlad is the best example of this. As a young boy, he was tortured by his father, who was the most powerful person in the universe, yet he remained fixed in bhakti. This is because there is no misery compares to the misery of not being engaged in bhakti. Similarly, one would not trade bhakti for any pleasure without bhakti. Sage Hari says that the mind of a pure devotee does not move from the feet of Bhagavan even for a fraction of a second, even if they are awarded sovereignty of the universe. The reason for this is that no bliss can compare to the bliss of Priti. Therefore, for a bhakta absorbed in bhakti, there is no difference between heaven and hell. He is neither distracted by the material pleasures of heaven nor by the suffering of hell. And moving right along here, just go straight into Anuched 22. So this is the third verse, now the third Anuched, now dealing with the effects of Priti, diminishing Mukti. Tadiya pada seva paramot kantha dwara tam. So now this time he's going to show it by the service, the desire for service, the eagerness, this tremendous eagerness for service. So the point is that just like here, right, they see everything as equal. So they don't see any, they don't differentiate between liberation and the other kinds of other kinds of purushartha. So now in this one, he was showing by asakti dwara. Where is that? I wasn't here saying something, or we just saw that asakti dwara. Asakti dwara, right? So here, ata karya dwareshu tatra patita mahasukha dukkha swantara dukkantara tiraskari tad asakti dwara tam aha. So it's by this asakti, this attachment. So the attachment to Bhagavan is an effect of priti, and that when that attachment is there, then everything else, whatever happiness and distress is there, one remains indifferent to them all. So that's being shown. So the inferiority of mukti is being shown through asakti here. So in this verse here, that was showing their asakti. Narayana paraha. The word paraha means attached. So here now, what is it? All right, so now here this is by his utkanta, his eagerness for service. So this disregard of mukti is shown by the supreme eagerness to attain service to Bhagavan's feet, as spoken by Uddhava to Bhagavan Krishna. Konvishate pada saroja bhajam sudhurlabhorteshu chatushvapiha tatapi naham prabrinomi bhuman bhavat padamboja nishevanotsukaha. So here are the words that he used in the utkanta. Seva paramot kanta. So practically the same words here. He says nishevanotsukaha. So eager for service. So eager for service to what? This is here is a bahuvrihi samasa. So it's saying that that's me. I am eager for service. Or I possess eagerness. Or I am eager here for service to your lotus feet. So he says, Ko nu Isha, O Lord, O Bhagavan, O Ishvara. What is there that is hard to obtain amongst the four goals of human life? For your devotees, what is hard to find? Pada saroja bhajam, such a nice word, right? So those who have found a place at your lotus feet, what is difficult to obtain? You are the source of the four goals of life. Everything comes from you. Mattak sarvang pravartate. So dharmartha kama moksha, the one resting place there, kama, sarva kama va, moksha kama udaradhi, tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So if you desire liberation, or if you desire material pleasure, or if you desire to attain Krishna himself, right? Akama, sarva kama, moksha kama, even you want liberation. And he says, worship me with, intense bhakti yoga. So which of the four purusharthas, O Lord, is difficult for those devoted to your lotus feet to attain? Yet, O Supreme, tatapi nahang pravrinomi bhuman, here bhuman, O Supreme, O all-encompassing one. O Bhuman, I do not choose any of them. I do not take any of them. I do not ask any of them. Really, I choose none of them is the best. I ask for none of them. So Isha is evocative, O Lord, O God. What was there somewhere here? Oh, we don't have it. Somewhere it's missing here. There's some Sanskrit missing. This verse was spoken by Uddhava to Krishna shortly before the latter left this world to ascend to his own abode. Uddhava was very close to Krishna, acting as his servant, friend, and counselor. He knew Krishna better than any other Yadava. Therefore, his words are very authoritative. The four Purusharthas include Mukti also. Out of Priti for Krishna, Uddhava prefers service to his feet over Mukti. So I think that what's being said here, though, is that it's the Utsaha, so Utsuka. So it's not just that it's not simply the, it's the effect of Priti is this eagerness for service. So the effect of love for Krishna is the desire to render service, to render more service. So no one has such eagerness for liberation. So even though the qualification for liberation, well, it's just like the qualification for bhakti, it's the desire to have it. So, but even so, because of the very nature of liberation, right? The very nature of liberation is the diminishing of desires. It's shramah karanam uchyate. It's the diminishing, the stopping, the virod, the nirodha, chitta vritti nirodha. That's what's happening with in the process of liberation. So you can see. So even here, just having the eagerness to serve, he is demonstrating the superiority of devotion, of priti, to mukti. Good verse. Konvishate pada saroja bhajam sadhur laborteshu chaturshvapiha tatapi naham pravrinomi bhuman bhavat padam bhoja nishevano sukha. Anuched 23. This is still the effects of priti diminish mukti, number 4. Sarvatmarpanakari bhajaniya vishaya ka bilasa dwara tam aha. All right, so sarvatmarpana kari bhajaniya vishaya ka bilasa dwara tam aha. So the giving up, right, of all of oneself, the self-sacrifice that one does, and the total commitment of one's desires to the object of worship, through that, one shows the superiority of priti to mukti. Disregard for mukti was shown by the desire of a self-surrendered soul to be his worshipable Bhagavan. Ooh. This is very embarrassing for me. This was said by Bhagavan himself. Okay, so this is a well-known verse here, 11th chapter, 11th canto. Na parameshtyam na mahendradhishnyam na sarvabhaumam na rasadhipatyam na yoga siddhira punarbhavam va mayarpitatme chati mad vinanyat. So one mayarpitatma ichati madvina anyat. So a devotee, one who has sacrificed, who's given himself to me, and he doesn't want anything except for me. Right? He doesn't want parameshtyam. He doesn't want to be in the position of Brahma. He doesn't want to have he doesn't want to have the kingdom of Swarga. He doesn't want to have worldly kingdom. He doesn't want to have kingdom rulership even of the lower worlds like Bali. He doesn't want yoga siddhi. He doesn't want freedom from rebirth, which is the liberation, apunar bhavam. Without me, a person who has surrendered without me, a person who has surrendered himself to me hankers for nothing. And this is not expressed nicely. Uh-huh. All right. Just put that. Not the post of Brahma, nor the seat of Indra, not sovereignty over the whole earth or the kingdom of the lower regions, not the yogic perfections, nor even freedom from rebirth. Tikacha rasadipatyam pataladi swamyam apunarbhavam amoksham api madvina mam hitva anyat nechati aham eva tasya preshta ityarthaha. So here basically he's just saying exactly, just repeating the words rasadipatyam, meaning rulership over the lower regions, patala and so on. Apunarbhavama means liberation, so we know that already. Madvina mam hitva, so mam vina, so without me or giving me up, they do not want anything else. They do not want anything other than me. So ahameva tasya preshta ityartha, because the meaning is, he says, I am their most beloved. That's the meaning here. So why all that? Because he's most beloved. Swami comments, the kingdom of the lower regions, rasadipatyam, means lordship over Patala, one of the 7 regions below the earth, the abode of the Nagas or serpents, and the demons, sometimes used as a general name for the lower regions or hells. Freedom from rebirth, apunarbhavam, apunarbhavam, not apunarbhavam. So there, watch that one. Bhava means birth. Bhava means, emotion or state of being. So apunarbhavam, freedom from rebirth, means liberation. Without me, I'm going to put this other than me. I would change this to other than me. Well, it wasn't really other than me. Oh well. Madvina, leaving me aside, he does not desire anything else. The meaning is that Bhagavan is the dearmost object of a devotee's love. Here ends his comments. Well, ETA shall put this at the end of the comments all the time. Okay, so Sarvabhaumam Sri Priyavratadinamiva Maharajam. So Priyavrata is described in the beginning of the 5th canto, that he had rulership over the entire earth. Sarvabhaumam Sri Priyavratadinam, and there are others, of course, in the Puranic stories. Parameshtyadi Chatushtayasya Anukrama Sachadho Dho Vivakshaya Nyunatva Vivakshaya Cha. So as they go on from one to the next, each one is inferior. So the first one was Parameshtyam, Brahma's rule, and then the seat of Indra, then sovereignty over the earth, and then kingdom over the lower regions. So they're progressively considered inferior to the previous. So tatas chotarotarama kaimutyam api. So in other words, so what the heck, so each one more than the next is what to speak of. So he does not want Sarvabhaumam, what to speak of Rasa. He doesn't want Paramesham, what to speak of Mahendra Dishyam, what to speak of Sarvabhaumam, what to speak of Rasadipatyam, like that. And so he says, tatas chotarotaram kaimutyam api. Yoga siddhyadi dvayam tu sarvatrikamiti paschad vinyastam. So because yoga, siddhi, and these two last ones, because and you know, they are everywhere. They can be everywhere in heaven, in Brahmaloka. So therefore they were spoken of at the end. Anayo satutara sraishtyam, but they are better than the previous. Sovereignty over the whole earth means a great empire like that of Priyavrata and others. The order of four rejected objects of desire, beginning with the post of Brahma, is to show that each is successively lower physically and inferior to the one preceding it. This shows that the devotee's rejection of each one is successively more emphatic. Yogic perfection and liberation are available anywhere, and so were placed at the end. Of these, the latter is superior to the former. Liberation is better than yogic perfection. This verse was spoken by Krishna himself to Uddhava. Having given the opinion of Uddhava, Sri Jiva Goswami now cites Krishna himself. Priyavrata was a son of Manu who ruled over the whole earth. His story is told at the beginning of the 5th canto. So just say the verse again one more time. Oh, we've seen this verse. We see this verse a lot. This verse, the first 3 lines, or some variation thereof, appears several times in the Bhagavatam. So what makes this particular version important is the last line. Mayar pitat mechati madvinanya. They don't want anything other than me. Anuched 24. So these are all short ones, just giving. So here you see the same thing as in this one. So tataivaha. So now this is from Vritrasura. Almost the same. Nanaka prishtam nacha parameshtyam na sarvabhaumam narasadhipatyam na yoga siddhira punarbhavangva samanjasatva virahaya kankshe. So almost exactly the same, both in words and in mood. So Vritrasura prayed in the same vein. Without you, O treasure house of all good fortune, I do not hanker for the uppermost heaven, the post of Brahma, sovereignty over the whole earth, or of the lower regions, yogic perfections, or liberation. Naka prishtam dhruva padam. So the Naka prishtam means the pole star, the abode of Dhruva. Atra chatatushtaye purvavata nyunatva vivakshaya kaimutyam. All right, so this says exactly like in the previous verse. You have this idea of the relative inferiority one to the next. So Parameshyam is considered inferior to Naka Prishtam. So the position of Brahma is below the position of Dhruva, because Dhruva is considered to be a Vaikuntha planet in the universe, Dhruva Loka. And because Krishna also dwells, Bhagavan also dwells there. So here he says that that's also, so like in the previous verse, he said that they were progressively inferior, and therefore it was progressively considered inferior. The 2 last items are similarly in a distinct category. The superiority of Dhruva's planet, Dhruva Padasya Sraishtyam Vishnu Pada Sannihitatva. So the superiority of Dhruva's planet over Brahma's abode is because of its proximity to Bhagavan Vishnu's planet. I don't like that planet. We're going to say that. I just saw that today in Babaji's book about Sanskrit non-translatables. So he was saying that loka, you can't translate it as world. I mean, you can't translate it as a planet. So I say world, so we could say realm, I think is a better one, realm. Right? All right, so Sri Jiva Goswami's mind seems to work like a computer search program. He's compiling all the verses with a similar theme or composition. He continues this in the following Anuched. Well, we've seen this in throughout. All right, here I actually put this in. This is actually a note, but I put it. Actually, Goswami does this in all of the Sandarbhas. He establishes a principle and then gives the supporting evidence. And sometimes he's giving, maybe a lot of verses. Yeah. So after giving the opinion of Uddhava and Krishna, he next refers to Vritrasura, a devotee in the body of an asura. One would expect him to desire liberation from his asuric body, but he also prays only for prīti. So this shows the superiority of prīti over mukti unconditionally. We will do one more, because this one is also the same. Number 25, Anuched 25, the effects of prīti diminish mukti. Number 6, garha tata prapatti dwara. So here also, the other one was just repeating in the same way, right? It was tata. But this one he's saying, with almost the same verse, he says that garha tat prapatti dwara. So intensely surrendering to him. Nanaka prishtam nacha sarva bhomam na parameshtyam narasadhipatyam na yoga siddhira punarbhavang va vanchanti yat padaraja prapananaha. So the last line is different. The other one, slight change in the order. I don't know what he's going to say here, because sarva bhomam, now if he says that each one is inferior to the preceding, it doesn't work anymore here. Anyway, the same superiority of prīti over mukti is demonstrated, gee whiz, through intense surrender to Bhagavan, is stated by the wives of the Kaliya snake to Krishna. So this verse is spoken by the Naga Patnis. Those who have surrendered themselves to the dust of your feet covet neither heaven nor the sovereignty over the world, nor the post of Lord Brahma, nor lordship over the lower regions, not yogic powers nor liberation. So no heaven here, we just had it was Dhruva Loka. Tatra naka prishtam api navanchanti kimuta sarvabhaumam. So there, in this case here, they don't want naka prishta, they don't want Dhruva Loka. So what are they going to want sarvabhauma for? Parameshya api navanchanti kimuta rasadhipatyam. So if they don't take parameshya, if they don't want the position of Brahma, then what are they going to do with lordship over the lower worlds? So in this way, so he's making two different kinds. So the structure is different than the previous verses. So he has to deal with them in a different way. So he's taking them as two separate ideas. If you don't want Naka Prishtam, then what you're going to do with the worldly kingdom? And if they don't want Brahma Loka, then what are they going to do with the lower planets? So if they, I guess that then in this case Yoga Siddhi and Punarbhavam, that doesn't work there, huh? Because you would have to say Yoga Siddhi, then Yoga Siddhi Apunarbhavam, that they don't want Yoga Siddhi, what to speak of Apunarbhavam. But it was said before that Apunarbhava was superior to Yoga Siddhi. So it doesn't quite work, but let's see what goes on. Let's see what he says next. So Tatra Naka Prishtam Api Navanchanti Kimuta Sarvabhaumam Parameshyam api navanchanti kimuta rasadhipatyam iti purvardhe yojyam. Uttaradhe va shabdopyartha. So this is the first half. So this applies to the first two lines. And in the third line, it doesn't work that way. It says that they should be separated by va. So they're two different things altogether. So the va here, he says va shabdo api arte. So he says that or here means both. or even, or also, just also. So they do not desire the, so here, Padarajak Shabdena Bhakti Vishesha Gyapanaya Garha Pratir Gyapyate. So the verse was introduced by the idea of Garha Pratipati, intense surrender. So that Padarajak Shabda, so you had to see the Vanchanti Yat Padarajak Prapanna, so Prapanna and Prapatti, that comes from the same root. Right, so prapatti, so surrendered to the feet, to the dust of your lotus feet. So by saying the dust of your lotus feet here, pada rajak shabdena, he's showing that that the devotion here is in a special category. It's prīti, and that the surrender is particularly strong. So the love here is particularly strong. That's shown by the word pada raja. So here he says, so they do not desire the uppermost heaven, and what to speak of the sovereignty of over the earth. They do not want the position of Brahma, then what to speak of a kingdom over the lower planets. This is the construction of the first half of the verse. In the second half of the verse, the word va, or, is used to mean also. Talk of dust from Bhagavan's feet indicates deep surrender through the mention of a special devotion. Oof, what a lot of mistakes. In the previous Anuched, Sri Jiva Goswami glossed the word Naka Prishtam as the abode of Dhruva, and in this Anuched he glosses it as heaven. This meaning is given according to the context. In the previous Anuched, the a fortiori principle required Naka Prishtam to be a place superior to that of Brahma. In the present verse, it is contrasted with the kingdom of earth. Well, that's also, this argument is not good. I don't like this argument. It's not what it says anyway. That's not what it said, and it doesn't mean anything. I don't believe this. I'm going to argue against this. So the word ka means happiness. Negating it by nine samasa gives the word aka, meaning no happiness. Negating it further with na gives the word naka, meaning happiness, because a double negation gives the original word. Prishtama means the back, surface, or foundation. Thus, literally, Naka Prishtam means the foundation of happiness. It could be used for heaven or any other place of happiness. All right, let's stop there today. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Purnam adaha purnam idam purnat purnam udachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnam evavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe, Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam. Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda. Jai Jai Radhe Krishna Govinda. Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna, Govinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna, Govinda, Jai Jai Shyam Sundar Madana Mohan, Vrindavana Chandra, Jai Jai Radha Raman Ras Bihari, Sri Gokulananda, Jai Jai Radha Kanta, Radha Vinod, Sri Radha Govinda, Jai Jai Raseshwari Vinodini, Manukula Chandra, Jai Jai Lalita Vishakha Adi, Jata Saki Vrinda, Jai Jai Sri Rupa Manjari Adi, Manjari Ananga, Jai Jai Purnamasi Kundalata, Jaya Nandi Vrinda Tomra, Kripa Kori Dehe Jugal, Charanara Vinda Deho Jugal, Charanara Vinda Deho Jugal, Charanara Vinda Deho Jugal, Charanara Vinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna, Govinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna, Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna, Govinda, Jai Jai Radhe Krishna, Govinda. Jai Jai Sri Sri Guru Charan Arvinda ki Jai. Jai Jai Sri Sri Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Jai Sri Priti Sandarbha ki Jai. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Jai Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai. Jai Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Jai Jai Sri Harinama Sankirtan ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol Hari Bol. Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam. Jai Jai Sri Radhe Shyam.